Good morning. Welcome to the Crossroads Career Network webinar this morning. I'll pause here for a bit as we have people rolling in. Grateful for each of you being here this morning. I'll give just another couple of seconds here as people are pouring into the online meeting today. We'll get started as people continue here. Glad you were able to join us this morning for the Minnesota Crossroads Career Network webinar. My name is Harry Urschel. I lead Crossroads here in the Minnesota area. And at the end of the session today, I'll give you an overview of everything else we offer as well. Certainly hope you can take advantage of different things that are available to you for free and be able to get help with your job search as you need it. We do these webinars online once a month. One of the things I really like about it is that we get people from all over the country that join us. And so that makes it a little different. We have other opportunities online as well from that you can participate in no matter where you sit. And then we have other things here locally that are just in person as well. But glad you're here, and let me get started. Actually, our hope with Crossroads is certainly to provide the best help and resources for your job search as we can, but while also pointing to the encouragement and hope in Jesus Christ. There's a perspective in the Bible that I think is important to rely on when we're going through challenging times in life, like a job search. It's the idea of always having an attitude of gratitude, no matter what circumstances we may be going through. In Scripture, it says, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." It doesn't say give thanks for all circumstances. You don't have to be thankful that you got laid off. You might later on when you see the result, but the idea is that no matter what circumstances you find yourself in, be deliberate in maintaining a thankful heart and a grateful attitude. It's easy for us to focus on the things that aren't going the way we want in our lives and to take for granted or forget about the things that are good. If we have a roof over our heads, food in the refrigerator, a healthy body, family, friends, resources, a community we can turn to, if you have any of those things, we have much more than large percentages of people in the world out there. So having an attitude of gratitude can make us less stressed, happier, more willing to help others, more likable, and in this circumstance, more attractive to potential employers. I encourage you to take the time to sit down and literally list out all the good things in your life. Then acknowledge that all good things come from God and thank Him for it. It makes a big difference when you put things in proper perspective. We can be thankful that the God that created the universe came in the human form of Jesus Christ to save us, and as a means to have a relationship with Him like never before. That's the first thing to be thankful for, and that's the only thing that will bring true peace and joy in your life. Let me open up in a word of prayer, and then we'll move on to our presentations this morning. Lord, I'm grateful for these times that people can participate online. I'm grateful for each person here today. I pray that you use this time for your purposes, that each person takes away something today that is most meaningful or most helpful for them, and that you're honored throughout this entire day. Thank you for all that you do. In Jesus' name, amen. With that, I've got a short video here that I'm going to share. It's features Morlake Atkinson. She is an Olympian that has had her own challenges and struggles, and talks about what was important to her and how she got through that. Let me make sure I have this set up right, and then we'll continue right afterwards. Obviously, you're here to see Graham Riley this morning, and he's going to join us right after this video.
They'd be like, she's really fast, or she runs track. That was always the adjective or the description that came after the introduction of me. I liked being that person. And then all of a sudden it was completely stripped away from me, and I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know, who am I? Every training cycle is about figuring out how can I break my body. Texas sun, 100 degrees. If you put your hands or knees on the track, you'll probably get burned. You're crossing the finish line and your teammates are pulling you off the ground, and then the next rep, you're pulling them off the ground. And then we strength train. A whole bunch of Olympic lifts, power cleans, box jumps, front squats, back squats, sled pulls. We push ourselves to the limit, breaking your body apart and coming back the next day and doing it over and over again. In 2016, when we were at the Olympic Games and we were running the prelim of the women's 4x100 relay, our second to third leg dropped the baton. I was standing there at the anchor leg waiting to receive a baton that was not coming to me. And in that moment, I had that thought of like, wow, I've trained what feels like your whole life for a moment that now seemed to be gone and stripped from me within the blink of an eye. So it takes you to a place of realizing that you have to make what you do worth it. As the story goes, we got to rerun and run by ourselves, and we made the final, and we came away with a gold medal in the 4x100 relay. I was ecstatic. I was on top of the world. But I was coming back to Austin, Texas, knowing that I wanted my life to look different. I didn't want to be the same college girl. I didn't want to keep being around those same group of people. I didn't want to keep partying. I didn't want to continue being that person. But I was also scared. I was scared of feeling alone and lonely and not having anyone and not knowing what I was going to do next. I got invited by my friend, Emmanuel Acho. He'd actually be mad at me for saying friend, by my best friend, Emmanuel Acho, to come to a game night. And I was hesitant at first, and I was like, okay, I'll come to this game night. And I walked into a room full of people who were complete strangers to me, but that was going to become my new spiritual community, a community of people who have very little in common besides our love for game nights and our love for Jesus, who were going to become exactly what I needed. On January 27th, 2018, at the end of a race, I ran into a wall, stopping, and completely ruptured my Achilles tendon. The Achilles is the strongest tendon in the human body, and you need it to do literally everything. Walk, jump, crawl, climb stairs, stand up, sit down. I had it surgically repaired, but I was being told, hey, you might never be the same runner that you were ever again. This may be a career-ending injury for you. I was angry at God, at the sense of, I thought this is what I was supposed to be doing, and if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, then why did you take it away from me? My identity was built in track and field. All of a sudden it was completely stripped away from me, and I didn't know who am I. I'm so independent and used to doing everything completely on my own, and I was at a point where I had to learn to ask for help. And it was tough, but I was right where I needed to be. For the first time, I realized that I was surrounded by people who believed in me. And not only did they believe in me, they believed that God had a plan for my life and that he was still going to be faithful through it all. I'd never been in a place where every single one of my people that I hung out with and talked to were someone that I could also be like, hey, I need you to pray for this, and they actually would, not just say that they would. And it also made me realize that this is why we're supposed to live our lives together like this, so that when one person in your community is hurting or is fallen or can't fight their battle on their own, that you have 10 or 15 or 5 or 3 or 25 people there who will step up and fight the battle for them that they can't fight for themselves. And that was the beginning of me really picking myself up and putting myself back together. Just because something happened that steered me away from what I thought was the path of least resistance doesn't mean that God changed doesn't mean his plans for my life had changed. It just means that I had to go through a little bit of something first. I've realized that I've been in a tough situation that I didn't think that I could make it out of, or I was so unsure of how I was going to make it out of. And I look back at it and I was like, wow, that was really easy. And it was God's hand in all of it. Prior to my injury, I was always focused on breaking my body down. And now I had to focus on putting my body back together. When I get on the track, it's like, you did not wake up today to be mediocre. That's the talk that I'm giving to myself. You can do this. You only have one more rep. Take it every 50 meters. I wore my I am second bracelet. It would always just be there as like you're not doing this for you. This is not your thing that you're doing, and like you have to keep going. I think the sweetest part of community is the ability to be vulnerable with people and let them see your true self and who you really are. And without Jesus Christ, I would not be who I am, I would not be where I am, and I would not be doing what I'm doing. Everything in my life has become solely because of who Jesus is and who he continues to be. My name is Morla K. Kinnison, and I am second.
There we go. I love two things. One is she talked about not trying to go it alone, having community, building people around you that can support you and encourage you and pray for you and give you hope. I think that is so critically important. And I think that's a big thing in a job search is too often people get isolated at home and just stare at a screen 8 hours a day and then aren't as prepared for networking and interviews and everything else involved in the job search when your communication skills are a use it or lose it muscle. So get out and talk to people as much as possible. Secondly, I love the line where she said, I didn't wake up this morning to be mediocre. And it's something I need to remind myself every day of as well. And am I just going to go through the day and do my stuff, or am I going to try to excel in some way? Anyway, great video. Hope it was encouraging for you, gave you some insight. And with that, I'm really glad to be able to introduce Graham Riley. Graham has spoken for our Crossroads events multiple times over the last few years, always has great content. He's got a organization called Career Toolbox USA that helps people promote themselves better online, and both businesses and individuals, and works with also many people that are in job transition to be able to be as visible and effective as they can. Graham has been hugely successful at that, knows what he's talking about, does research on what's working and what's not in the online space and otherwise these days. And I know has a lot here to offer in terms of helping you progress through this. So Graham, welcome. I'll have you.
Hey, thank you, Harry. It says I can't join. Oh, there we go. There you go.
Perfect.
Excellent. All right. Hey, thank you so much, and thank you to each one of you for allowing me to join. Let me just pull up my slide deck. Now, while I do have slides, I hope and encourage that you'll ask some questions as we go along. I want this session to be as informative as possible, and please don't suffer in silence. You got a question, ask it. You can either ask in the general chat, jump in and ask, or afterwards, if something comes to you, please reach out on LinkedIn. And here's my commitment to all of you folks who've decided to join this morning. If you reach out with a question, I'll be committed to getting an answer back to you within 24 hours. So hopefully that shared agreement works for all of us. So let's get started. Today's session is looking at how am I going to go about generating interview opportunities. It's such a heavy lift. If you haven't had interviews in a while, as Harry said, it can get very, very frustrating. And what we want to do, and echoing and supporting Harry's comment, is how do I get myself out there and meet people at a scale of meetings and interactions online far more than I ever could do in person. And it's really about how am I connecting with people and showing my worth and my value and my ability to contribute. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm pressing the button and nothing's happening, but let's try again. Okay, there we go. First thing that I wanted to bring everybody's attention to is LinkedIn has got a new AI platform that sits inside of the LinkedIn tool. Now, on previous presentations that I've given, I've talked about the various algorithms inside of LinkedIn that you need to address because, as we all know today, it's an algorithm that determines what we see. Now, in October 2024, LinkedIn started introducing AI into its algorithm suite. And after doing some preliminary testing through Q4 2024, early 2025, now it is rolled out everywhere. And so, okay, Graham, so LinkedIn's got a new algorithm. What does that actually mean to me? Well, what it means is that it has such an incredible impact on who actually sees you. What searches are you appearing in? How much visibility you're getting? And it's also absolutely key to the job descriptions or job suggestions that A, it makes for you, and B, your credibility when it comes to a recruiter doing a search. So I'm not going to read the description. You can read that for yourselves. But there's absolutely a real impact because I can't be a well-kept secret if I want hiring managers and recruiters actually looking at my LinkedIn presence. So the way that I like to describe 360 Brew, obviously it's an engineer who came up with that name. 360 just means LinkedIn is looking at everything. And just like a drill sergeant during inspection, they're not just looking at how shiny the shoes are or the crease in the pants. They're looking at absolutely everything. They're looking at behavior. They're looking at attitude, tone, vocabulary, what's going on in, obviously here in the soldiers' drawers, looking at everything. And so what we have to do now is to make sure that when we pass inspection, that it's consistent in the value that we have to offer to a prospective employer. So I'm not going to get a lot into the algorithmic side because just because you sat for an hour listening about an algorithm isn't going to determine what you might do later today after we jump off the call. So I'm going to make it as relatable as possible to you. Okay, so as Harry said, I've been on several of these sessions, and what I would come on and say is this is the purpose of your resume. Anybody who looks at your profile or your resume from the hiring team, it's abundantly clear this is the value that you provide. Now, I am actually starting to sunset this vocabulary, and I'm changing it to this. I've shared that 360 Brew is the drill sergeant looking at everything. And so profile your comments, the way that you engage, who you're engaging with, the posts that you're sharing in the network, it's all important. And as everything is being assessed, these are the main criteria that it's being assessed for: credibility and trustworthiness. And so what it's looking for is, if you're posting something or commenting, I'm posting on ABC over here, I'm talking about XYZ over here. If none of those things are congruent to my profile, then the rating of your credibility and trustworthiness reduces. And when it reduces, it's not clear to the AI who you are and what you're about. So all of those things, the profile all the way to who you're connected with, what I want my LinkedIn presence to do is I want it to shape the perception that you would be the most successful in any given role, meaning the roles that you're looking for. We want to start to manage those perceptions before anyone meets us. Now, a quick story. Somebody went through our program, and so I think how quickly time flies. We're at the 15th. It was, I think, the 2nd or the 3rd of January. They said they got an interview. On the 7th of January, they called me up and they said, when I walked in, the interviewer said, "It's a pleasure to meet you in person." Now, why were they saying that? It's because they'd had an interaction on LinkedIn. And so what generated the interview was that the job applicant, they were looking for a job, but they weren't behaving like that. They were behaving as a category expert in their field. The hiring manager had posted something in around the Thanksgiving phase. And what they'd entered into was a dialogue on LinkedIn. And so what happened then when it came to the interview, it was simply an extension of a conversation that was already taking place on the platform. They were just wrapping up some candidates, other candidates, and I'll hear, hopefully, fingers crossed, later this week whether they landed their role. So we're going to look at how I can take this, in quotes, theory. Okay, Graham, it sort of makes sense. How can I make it far more relatable? All right. So I believe I've mentioned this before to people. Think of your LinkedIn profile as a trade show booth. Now, all of the people that you see here, each one of them has got a trade show booth at the LinkedIn Expo. There are over 1.2 billion trade show booths at this event. But you know the people who hire people like you, they're in attendance. And what are they doing? They're walking down the aisles, they're scrolling down their feed, and they're looking at things that are going to catch their interest. And we know that if we've been to a trade show before and we walk the aisles, we check and look around, check things out. But if we don't say anything, if we don't engage, we walk in, look around, walk out, nobody remembers that we were there. And because we didn't engage, weeks or months later, we might remember that we attended an event, but there wasn't any meaning there. So for all intents and purposes, while we had a presence at the trade show, nobody recognized us, nobody talked to us, nobody engaged with us. Now, any of you who have been to trade shows and expos or have been responsible for manning a booth, one of the things that the marketing team or the folks who help you set up your booth, they want you to attract attention. And I pulled this from an advisor who coaches and offers a service to companies. This is how to get people into your booth, because there's no point in attending if I'm not getting traffic into my booth, not only traffic of people. So I need some volume, so I need quantity, but I also need quality as well. And so as you read this, you can say, oh, yeah, if I've been to a trade show, I have seen organizations and people do this sort of thing in order to get me to stop. Because as I'm walking down the aisle, the first thing that needs to happen is the booth needs to have stopping power. Because I can't talk or engage with somebody if they're just breezing by, so I need them to stop. The simplest way is to put some very high-end candy out, because people like to snack as they're walking around. But there's, as you can see here, there's far more mechanisms and ways to get, not only to get people stop, but to stay. And the longer somebody stays and engages with the people inside of the booth, the more rememberable, struggling with my words there, the more rememberable, I'm still struggling, but you get the idea. The more they're going to think about you first and what your booth said. Now, we call that dwell time. If you only spend a couple of minutes at a trade show and you're speaking to many people, at the end of the conference or the following week, if you only spent a couple of minutes, people are not necessarily going to remember you. But if they spent 15 minutes engaged in a conversation where you showed curiosity and interest in them and they engaged with you, then you're going to linger in their memory exponentially longer than somebody who didn't put that same sort of effort in. And so hopefully you're with me that, yeah, I can see that LinkedIn's got plenty of traffic, got plenty of users. There are 150 million people every day with their thumbs or their mouse skim scan scrolling. How do I get them from that aisle over into my feed? And so first thing to figure out is, well, what sort of booth am I having? Now, with incredible budgets, if you go into a trade show, you can see some Taj Mahals of trade show booths. But the reality for your booth inside of LinkedIn, your profile, is everyone starts off in the same. And so that's the indication on of the left hand. We all start with the same set of fields, same set of settings, same capability, same limitations, but it's what we do about it. And if you've been looking through profiles and you've thought, and moved on, didn't impress you, you look at other profiles and you think, that person's got it going. They're using they've got the same material, the same fields and limitations to work with. But what they've chosen to do is, hey, I want the best version of myself out there. It's an indication of my communication style and my attention to detail. And so I need to elevate how I'm presenting. And that's the booth on the right. It looks far more visually appealing, but we tend to look at something before we start to read it. So hopefully you're still with me. I can't have the generic gray booth that doesn't do me justice. I need a booth that's going to start to catch attention. All right. So how am I working my booth? The Sales professional on the right, the lady who sat down, she can have the Taj Mahal of the booth. Now, it can be absolutely fantastic. She's put a lot of time and energy and investment in the booth. Now, she's present in it, but her experience when she's on LinkedIn is simply to observe. Now, in previous sessions, I call these people lurkers. They absolutely have a LinkedIn presence. Sometimes they've got good, bad, or indifferent profiles, but the approach that they're taking is I'm an observer, I'm not a participant. And even with an absolutely fantastic, in quotes, optimized booth, they're still not going to get any traffic because it doesn't look like they are interested in what's going on. They may be up to date with everything because they've got the time just to look, but looking doesn't drive engagement. So the sales professional on the left perhaps doesn't have a fancy booth, but they're in the aisle and they are working the crowd. They're engaged with people. And if I was a business owner and my trade show booth was set up and I looked at the person on the right versus the person on the left, it's clear at the end of the day who's going to be successful. I only have to watch them for 2 minutes and know what the outcome is. And that's me saying it, but you know that it's true as well. You know that when people have come up and started to engage with you, that they're far more memorable. And I'm sure for the fellow introverts out there, we have been to meetings and we've had a couple of conversations, but we haven't necessarily met as many people as that opportunity afforded us. All right, so hopefully you're seeing the parallels between what I started off with. Everything is being looked at, your behavior, what you're saying, and who you're saying it to. All right, so how do I get an audience to my booth? How do I get it to my profile? Now, again, from your real world experience, when you've gone into a trade show, you recognize that there are folks out on the four corners, but the real booth, where the real activity is towards the middle. And so the reason that I've got a red circle around that particular booth is that's where I feel that I am. And why am I pegging myself there? It's because I'm using the analytics, how many times has somebody viewed my profile? How many times has somebody viewed my booth? How many times have I appeared in a search? How many impressions do I have on my content? And my content is the handouts that I'm giving from the booth. The more handouts I give out, the more people who are attending and looking at my booth and interacting with me, the more visibility I get. Now, for people who don't feel that, hey, I'm not getting a lot of visibility, that's the gray boxes. These are the worst positions to be in because if nobody's actually showing interest in me, my mind starts to tell me lies. You know, what the hell am I doing here? I feel frustrated. So something's got to change. How do I pick up my booth and start to move it closer to the middle? Now, the reason I didn't put myself in that big red box in the middle, I'm not a Gary V, with 6 or 7 million, or Mark Cuban, etc. That's where those guys relate or hang out when it comes to activities around their profile. I'm not there, but I certainly know from my metrics, when I look at hundreds of thousands of people engaging with my booth, that I'm somewhere around that third tier. But what we can't be is in the gray zone where there's little to no foot traffic, and it starts to erode our confidence. There's nothing wrong with your skills. It's how am I going about engaging and making people aware of those skills and how it can impact a prospective business. All right. So starting to move away. That's the theory. So just hang in there with me. People are still being hired today, but how are they being hired? Now, all of the data that I ever share with you, as Harry said, Graham goes and does his research. 11% of jobs, of all the jobs in the US right now, 11% are being filled by people who have updated their profile and resume and submitted an application. 11%. Now, to me, any system like, the job search that only services the minority is a broken system. If it services the minority and not the majority, it's not working. I think of the direct applications as more of the lottery ticket for jobs. Yeah, and I play Powerball as well every other week because there's always that chance. But I'm not planning my retirement or future expenditure based on the fact that I'm rolling the dice with Powerball. So 12% of hires today are people who are not only applying, but they're giving demonstrations of their capability and capacity during the application process. My wife, she's in sales and she's been recently hiring. Now, part of their application process is somebody has to submit a case study. Other people have to give examples of their work. Perhaps if you're in graphic design, you share your portfolio. So it's the application plus it's additional materials that give a demonstration of your expertise. 11% and 12%, those are still small numbers. Now, where it starts to get interesting at 28% are recruiters who are doing the outreach. Now, LinkedIn tells me that there are, on average, 400 applications for every job that is posted on average, right? So you've got to imagine that, yeah, there's going to be a few where there are 20 or 30, but there's also jobs that are out there that are literally receiving several thousand applications. Now, if you, I, any of us, if we were recruiters and we had a stack of resumes to go through today, we'd think we were being punished for something. And every recruiter, every hiring manager, they want to be known for hiring good people really quickly. And so instead of going through these applications, they start to say, well, I know what the hiring team's looking for. If I'm a hiring manager, I know what I'm looking for. So when they put that job description into LinkedIn, they don't have to post the job. LinkedIn says, okay, Graham, I know what you're looking for. It goes off and it does a search inside of LinkedIn for who is credible and trustworthy in their category expertise. Remember that second slide that I showed for 360 Brew and how it's impacting job postings. Not only is it taking the job description, it's reading the job description and it's trying to understand what is Graham really looking for? Because we all know that there are good, bad, and indifferent job descriptions. Sometimes we'll start a job and we look at the job description and 6 months later, it's not actually what we're doing or bears very little correspondence with what we're doing today. So AI is looking at not only the job description and saying, okay, this is what you're saying that you're looking for, and then it's looking at all of the profiles, all of the trade show booths, and saying which trade show booth, which profile should I direct the attention of this recruiter? And then it puts all of the trade show booths, all of the profiles in order, 25 a page, and then the recruiter over their morning coffee, skim, scan, scroll through the search results. Profiles that they like, booths they like, they're going to put into the pipeline, and then they're going to go and visit those booths to weed it out. Who am I going to reach out and schedule an appointment with, an interview? All right, so 11% applications, 12% applications, plus 28%, and then internal referrals. Now, intrinsically, we've known this before there was ever LinkedIn. If I can get somebody inside of the organization advocating for me, and they indicate to the hiring team or to the recruiter that I'd be worth having a conversation with, that's gold. So 49%, approximately half of all jobs today, are being filled by that mechanism. Now, your family, friends, people inside of organizations that understand your skills and are aware of opportunities, you've got that covered. You're going to provide referrals. However, if you don't know them, then how do I start to work with hiring teams, people who I'd be working with, working for, or people that would be working for me, depending on your seniority level? How do I start networking with them so that I've inserted myself into their attention, so I've created awareness and visibility? Then how do I work on securing some trust? Now, trust comes in two parts. The first part, that somebody seems like a very trustworthy individual, seems like a decent person. I trust that they're a professional in whatever they do. So that's the interpersonal trust. And then the second part of trust is, oh, they seem like a good person, and they also look like they have got category expertise and significant knowledge in a certain area. Now, doesn't that sound like the process that you would like to go through in order to secure an interview? The hiring team's aware of me. They trust that I've got expertise. But the last step, I can't stop there. What I've got to do is now build a belief with those individuals that I am worth having a conversation with. Now, if I've gone through that process, the conversation that I'm having is around my expertise. It's not around my availability. I'm not doing all of this trustworthy expertise to jump into the belief phase is, hey, I'm looking for a job. You're not being hired because you're available. You're being hired because of your expertise and your ability to fit in and excel in the role. So don't lead with availability, lead with your expertise and to build the belief. Now, if you've got open to work on your LinkedIn profile, I would offer that you remove it. Why? Because several slides ago, I said that your profile, your comments, your network, your posts, etc., are all being assessed for your expertise. Let it be that. Don't be immediately judged that you're unemployed. So take that off and make sure that from your banner all the way down to the recommendations, It's consistent as to this is the value that I've got to deliver. All right. So to generate interviews, I mentioned that there's 400 applications. I need a process that addresses all of these channels. I'm not saying, hey, you just need to focus on networking. If I'm to maximize my opportunities for an interview, yeah, I still need the Powerball. I still need to be applying. I need material if I'm applying and it requires additional information to support it. I need to make sure that I'm driving traffic to my booth and I'm highly visible. I'm moving from the gray zone of the trade show hall towards the center where it's busier. And I also need to be 1 foot in the aisle, 1 foot in my booth, looking to engage people to bring them in. All right. So I've mentioned AI in terms of the LinkedIn algorithm. Now, on the hiring side, there's a lot less confidence in who are we really getting, because is it them or is it AI? And what AI is doing is it's simply being trained on the inputs. And so when you take job descriptions and say, hey, just match it, match my skills to here, what you're doing is you're creating a very vanilla and bland brand for yourself. Why? Because if we've got 400 applicants and half of them are using the job description and that similar sorts of backgrounds to yours, how vastly different do you think your resume or your profile updates that it's suggesting are going to be different? It's going to be really tough for a hiring manager to sort out, again, the good, bad, and indifferent. Unless it's trained, it's not going to sound like you, nor are you going to be able to stand out, because this is how I'm uniquely positioned to be successful in the role. So how can we overcome this? Here's the critical first step: is we know that I want my profile, my presence to establish that expert authority. I need it to shape perception. Now, everyone on today's call, you have shaped perceptions that have been successful to the point where somebody's saying, yeah, of all the other candidates, this individual we feel can be the most successful in the role. It wasn't the profile and it wasn't the resume. What landed you the position was your ability to outperform the competition in the interview process. At the end of the interview process, if you are managing the perception that you can be successful in the role based upon the answers that you are giving, if everyone agrees, yeah, they can be successful, you move forward in the process. The job is always awarded to the person who they feel is the best fit and can be the most successful. Now, all of that was done during the interview process. Nobody got the job offer, and now they're thinking about what their resume and profile or their application said. When people are excited, hey, we've got Bob, Tom, Dick, or Harriet's just started, what they talk about is their accomplishments. This is why we hired them. This is why we think they'd be a great fit. Again, it's based upon the interviews that they had. And so what are we doing in an interview? We want to understand somebody's background. How did they earn that expertise? How did they get educated? What sort of positions have they filled in the past? They want to know all of these things. Now, how do they know them? They start with, hey, Graham, can you tell me about a time when? And then fill in the question. Here's how I'd recommend that you start. It's not on LinkedIn. It's certainly not on hacking around with your profile with your resume. If you've got a specific role in mind, this is what I am running towards, then get multiple job descriptions that really and precisely hit up. This would be my dream job. The way that they're describing this, it would be my dream job. Now, if you get a job description, because I did mention that there are good, bad, and indifferent ones, if you say, oh, I love what it's saying here, then grab that. And ignore the rest. I love what it's saying here. Grab that. And so now build out a job description from the several job descriptions that you're looking at for a particular position, and then craft one job description. Now, it's a Frankenstein of several, but if you could do everything that's described here every day, you'd be happier, the employer would be happier, and you'd be able to deliver the maximum amount of value for that organization. That's the description. Now use GPT to say, based upon this job description, what are the questions that would be asked that would make somebody a great candidate for this role? And so now you've got the requirements, now you've got the questions that would be asked to fill that, and then just interview yourself. And well, how do I go about filling the blank for your job? If you're in IT, they want to know about troubleshooting, how you work with clients, how you work with users. Which technologies are you familiar with? How did you install, maintain, configure? It's going to ask all of those things. Now, if it's likely to be asked in interview, have GPT act as that interviewer. Now, in a real live interview situation, we get one chance. Whatever comes out of our mouths, that's our first and final answer. Here, we get to practice. So we get the questions, and there might be 20 or 30 questions that could, in theory, be asked. What's our best answer? And we just work our way through answering, going into great detail. Now we got the raw materials to now move into our profile and into our resume. Now, with all of those answers, we can now start to apply updates to our profile and resume, and it will be consistent because the role that we're looking to fill has already been trained with the AI. And now what you get from the top of your profile all the way through to the skills is you're not guessing at what I should put. For example, you can have 100 skills on your LinkedIn profile. Those skills can be peppered inside each one of your experiences. Sergeant Major, 360 Brew is looking at all of those. So after you've got your job description and you've got your answers, you can then ask GPT, what are the top 100 skills that a recruiter would be looking for in order to fill a position like this? And now you've got your skills. It's less guesswork. And LinkedIn has upped the number of skills that it recognizes that recruiters are used. And now there are over 350,000 skills. And do I have the right ones? And I look at dozens, and some days, close to 100 profiles as I'm working with people or preparing for a webinar. sometimes on a daily basis. And what I see are VPs or CFOs. And when I look at their skills, it was skills that they put in and they thought were relevant 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. They haven't updated them to reflect their current skill sets. And it pains me when I see VPs with skills that say Microsoft Outlook, or a VP of IT says that it's Windows. So what am I updating? Well, based upon your conglomeration of the job descriptions that would be the best fit for you. You've got the questions that would enable you to show why you'd be a great fit. And then you've got skills and descriptors that are going to help elevate your LinkedIn presence and provide that consistency that 360 is looking for. So just going through that process is going to help with your credibility and trustworthiness in the eyes of the AI. Why? Because you're consistent. Now, well, Graham, is AI creating a false impression of me? Well, no, because everything that is publicly facing, your profile and your resume, your comments and your LinkedIn posts, it's based upon the answers that you gave. I spoke to somebody yesterday and they said, Graham, I post Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And they had a few hundred impressions on their content. I said, what I'm loving is the fact that you're consistent and you have a system, but what are you talking about? And he said, well, I'm making it general. And so we had a look at some of his posts. I asked the question, if you were to prove your expertise in an interview, is this how you would answer? And they said, no, I made it general, sort of for everyone. Everyone isn't interviewing you. A very specific demographic is going to be sat across the table from the interview process. What would you want to tell them to leave them with the impression that you can be successful in the role? And so, yes, we've got volume. Yes, we've got consistency and we've got a cadence. But what we are talking about in our posts it needs to match up with our profile and the audience that we're looking to impress or to generate curiosity from. And you can see the stats there. When it comes to, I've used this for sales reps when they're doing buying. When it comes to hiring, pretty much you can guarantee that somebody in the hiring process is going to take a look at your profile, whether it's during the application process or 5 minutes before they're scheduled to meet you. All right, so the visuals. This is remember the booth illustration. Everyone starts off with a chair in an area with a table and a cloth around, a skirt around the table. Everyone starts off with that. So make sure that the visuals are in line with your expertise, and the visuals support the message. Just as that booth on the right, it was consistent in messaging, look, style, and tone. And then the narrative is the narrative that you're saying in the comments, in your posts, and in the direct messages that you're having with people. So I've talked about I find it personally very interesting that we're at a point in the new industrial revolution that we're using AI to test credibility, to define our expertise and our trust. And if we want to shape that perception, then we've absolutely got to jump in and help train that AI to help them to help it understand why we should be trusted, why we are credible, and why we have the expertise that we'd like to be known for. The other last point about this 1 foot in the aisle and 1 foot in the booth, and I'm engaging and I'm talking with people, is it we are not operating in a vacuum. Harry was saying that if you've been applying for 5 or 6 jobs and like, oh, that's exhausted me, I'm going to go off and do other things. Engaging with conversations and jumping into commenting on people's comments, sharing your insights as you would in an interview in posts, people are going to respond to that. And what becomes affirming, and Harry mentioned this, is get out and talk to people. Well, if you don't always want to be hopping in your car, when I say the word comment, hear it as conversation. Because if I receive a comment from you or a message, put it in the same format, engage with it in the same way. Because when I talked back to your profile, it feels like it is me talking to you. So I hope this has helped. Everything now is important. I can't just set up my profile and think I've set it up, I built it, so they will come. They won't come. You're in the gray zone and you need to be in the red zone. All right. I do have a session coming up Tuesday the 27th where I'm talking about how do I go about prospecting. Prospecting isn't searching. Prospecting is engagement. And when you show curiosity, interest, and you're engaged with someone, what that does, it builds reciprocity, and then they become curious and interested in you. And isn't that what everyone who's in job in transition, isn't that what they're looking for? All right. Thank you.
Graham, that was terrific. So much good meat there, very practical stuff. I think sometimes people underestimate the importance of LinkedIn. I talked to somebody recently and she said, I am not on social media in any way, but this is LinkedIn. You can't think of it like Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or something like that. It's your professional networking site. And, these days, if you're not on LinkedIn, it's almost like you don't exist in the world. And that's sounds harsh, but it's really true professionally. What I'm talking about as a recruiter for the last 38 years and knowing and talking to other recruiters all the time, we live on LinkedIn and you're absolutely right. Even if they didn't find you on LinkedIn, they're going to be looking you up before the interview or after they've seen your resume or application. And if it might not hurt you to not have a presence or a good engaging profile, but it certainly isn't going to help you. And when you're competing against all those other applicants, you really need to get as much help as you can. Your excellent presentation. I hope it was helpful. Are there any questions or comments for Graham that you want to put into the chat here, and we can respond to those? We have a little bit of time here. Hope it was worthwhile and helpful and got some good takeaways. Here we go. My name is Reese. Thank you for this practical overview on LinkedIn. I'm currently job searching, leaving an old industry of behavioral health billing to wellness coaching. I'm aiming to get into wellness team, ideally. I just lost. I was scrolling and I lost it. I'm sorry.
Ideally with wellness coaches and then get certified and become a coach myself. How do I manage the gap? I really took a work sabbatical to recalibrate after a stressful role. And how much should I post? So you've got your life up to the point where you decide I would like to make a change. LinkedIn now recognizes that, and you can put a sabbatical in. But the sabbatical that you have as that filler, whether it was 6 months or a year, however long it was, go into the section and describe your passion and your calling for the next chapter in your career. Because somebody can always question the degree of your expertise, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are they an expert? What somebody can't judge is how passionate you are about the path that you're taking. So if you're coming out of corporate life and you're going into nonprofit, or if you're coming out of corporate life and you're going into wellness, it's your passion for people. Now, in order to best serve the people that you have a passion for, in that work sabbatical, here are all of the courses that I did. Here is all of the research that I did. Don't just leave it as, hey, I took a break, because our mind never allows us to take a break. We're always thinking about what's next, but make sure that it describes your why. Why are you pivoting? I'm getting this additional education and this research. And then when you start to move, share. So you ask the question, should I post? Yeah, absolutely should post. Because if you're saying, hey, I took this break to get certified, etc., what are you learning? What difference does this education, what difference is it going to make? So bring people along on that journey. And the more you're talking about wellness, the more keywords that you're seeing, and are you connecting with wellness coaches? Are you coming into that circle of trust, that credibility? Patricia asked, thank you for this information. What is the impact on verifying your LinkedIn with Clear ID? So there are a lot of scammers on LinkedIn, and what LinkedIn is looking to do is to be able to say that people's profiles have been verified. So you're talking to the real Harry, you're talking to the real Graham. It does require government certified ID to do it. I have done it for myself, but it is personal choice, because you are giving up government issued documentation to a big business. So the choice is yours. I have personally done it for myself. I often congratulate and give best wishes to friends and contacts who've got a new job. Great. Should I focus? Do both. Now, instead of just saying, hey, Harry, congrats on your new job, elevate. So don't just say, hey, well done. Describe why you think they're going to be successful in the role. Because those canned responses, because everyone's familiar with this, when you look to respond in messaging, etc., LinkedIn prompts you just to hit one button and send it off. LinkedIn's not recognizing those buttons as you've been active and contributing. It's looking for more engagement with that. So have a nice mix. So show who you are as a person, how you help lift and elevate others. You play nicely with others, right? And then also equally demonstrate your subject matter expertise when somebody's posted. Jump in with a meaningful comment that gives an indication of that. Hannah shares, I came out of a position where I was a jack of all trades and turned vague ideas. Okay. As such, large book of transferable skills. Yes. I've narrowed it down to 3 different target industries, and I'm open. Okay. How do people like me show your expertise? Great question, Hannah. 2 outcomes. All businesses, all industries, all sizes are looking for. How did you improve the organization's financial performance? How did you improve the customer, client, user, or if you're in healthcare, patient experience? All of that experience needs framing, because if it comes across as confused and not coherent, then you're confusing the traffic that's your activities are driving to your profile. But your anchor points are financial outcomes and improved customer experience. So look to align things under those two into those two categories. Oh, and add one other thing, Hannah, is that as you've progressed through your career, you were probably given a small problem, and you did so well at it because you're so adaptable and you can get things done that you were probably, in quotes, rewarded with a larger problem to solve. And, you know, wherever we've got a problem, we're going to put Anna because she's able to figure it out. So that is of tremendous value, and it speaks to your flexibility and your ability to take a problem and solve it quickly. Vita, I find the answer so helpful coming from. Oh, bless you. Thank you so much, Vita. Is LinkedIn Premium worth the investment? So, for clarification, there's free, and then if you are paying for anything inside of LinkedIn, then it's categorized as a premium account. I'm paying money. There are, at my last count, there are 13 different ways to spend money with LinkedIn. I would recommend that you utilize Sales Navigator Core. You don't go with the career one, you go to Sales Navigator Core. Why? Because what it allows you to do is to search companies and look at departments and see which departments are growing. Because if you just relied on the careers and looking at job postings, that's only reporting on what the company is to show externally. You get no indication of the jobs that have hired, you know, fellow professionals like Harry to go and find in secret where the job isn't posted, but his role is to go and find great talent. So when that talent joins a department, LinkedIn says, oh, it looks like this department is growing at 3 or 5%. Well, if there's no jobs advertised, but the department is growing, something's going on that you don't have visibility into. Sales Navigator gives you that visibility, and it helps you track down and actually put into a map everyone that you are likely to encounter during the interview process. And it also tells you who's visiting your booth, your profile, and how much they're engaging with you. So Sales Navigator is the way, is what I'd recommend. I do realize that we are coming up on time. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, don't suffer in silence. Got a question? Let me know.
Thank you so much, Graham. Just one final comment. You touched on this a couple of times, actually, but you know, when you're not in a job search, you know, feel free, obviously, to use LinkedIn to continue to nurture your network and put out comments about and posts about motivation or whatever else. But when you're in a job search, you want most of the time when people see you coming up, something related to the career you're in, so that they connect the dots in their head. If you're just constantly putting, you know, as you talked about before, you had a client that was putting general stuff out there, that's fine, except they're not connecting the dots for people in terms of what they're looking for. And you want to be seen as often as possible with relevant stuff. Very educational and informative. Wonderful. Thank you. I agree. Terrific. Thank you so much, Graham. Appreciate your time and willingness to help. You've been so insightful every single time we've had you, and I look forward to having you come up again on one of our other presentations. With that, I want to kind of switch over to run through the things we have available through Crossroads. All of it's free. I want you to be able to take advantage of other resources and help. And I think as important, I've been talking about this a lot, but the content I think is strong and gives you a lot of good strategies and tactics for your job search. But I think as important is just building a sense of community, getting encouragement, some fresh ideas, some new spring in your step. And so getting plugged into these other things we offer, I think, can serve multiple purposes and help you in many other ways. So let me share my screen here and I'll run through a number of things. And I certainly encourage you to get plugged in as much as you can. So if you, I'm assuming in order to sign up for this webinar today that you went to our website to some degree and found the link to get registered on Zoom. But check out our website further. There's all the details of everything we offer. We have also a job board. There's a number of companies in the Minneapolis area that know what we do, know that great people come, and that they post jobs on our job board. And it's not as populated as LinkedIn or Indeed, but there are a lot of great jobs and they do hire people. That's why they keep posting over and over again. So check it out, pursue those opportunities as you see ones that make sense. Let them know that you came across it through Crossroads, because that enables more companies or encourages more companies to participate as well. But all the information about upcoming topics on our webinars, all the schedules and times and details are listed there for everything else that we offer that I'll be talking about here shortly. Kind of our cadence throughout the month is we have 3 different seminar presentations like this that go on. The first Thursday of each month is in person only at Grace Church in Eden Prairie. And we have a seminar topic like this, but then we also have our networking group that meets in person immediately following the presentation. And then after that, we have somebody that talks about financial considerations through job search, which can be really important, and as well as kind of a micro job fair. Sometimes we have 1 or 2 companies show up, sometimes none, sometimes we've had 3 or 4. So they just are there setting up a table and you can go out and talk about opportunities that they have as well. So that's the first Thursday of every month at 7:30 a.m. at Grace Church in Eden Prairie. Take advantage of that as often as you can. That'll be our next event coming up here on February 5th. The second Thursday evening of each month is at Woodbury Lutheran Church. So on the other side of the metro, if you live closer to that, we have another presentation like this. And then the third Thursday morning of each month is a webinar that you're on right now. And that happens each month throughout the year. So you can check that out. All the details, schedules, speakers, etc., are on the website. Look for the seminars page and you'll find it all there. On a weekly basis, there's a number of other ways you can plug in. So our networking group called Networking with Grace meets every Thursday morning. So it'll follow immediately after this. You do have to register for that separately. But the first Thursday of the month is in person at Grace Church. Every following Thursday of the month is through a Zoom meeting online, separate Zoom meeting from this one. But you register online, you'll get the Zoom link, and you can participate in that in order to trade and get contacts and leads and ideas from others and some encouragement. Wes Tang on our team leads that, and he does a fantastic job of making sure that everybody tries to get everybody walk out with something each week. So check that out. Take advantage as often as you'd like. You can get one-on-one coaching with one of our volunteers. So if you sign up on the forum online, one of our volunteers will reach out to you and set up a time to meet either over a phone call or a Zoom meeting. And you can talk about anything you'd like about your job search, whether it's networking ideas or look at your resume or prepare for an interview or do mock interview practice, or just to talk through your situation with somebody that gets it and can have some insight and advice for you. So take advantage of that as often as you'd like. Look for the coaching page on our website and you'll see the sign up form there. We're big believers in prayer and spiritual support. And so if you have a specific prayer request, fill that out. We have a team that prays for you specifically. It prays for all of you in general, but also we have a soul care team. So if you feel like you really need to talk through your emotional journey on this, or that you're really struggling spiritually through this process, we have a team that can support you with that as well. See the details on the website and you can sign up and get somebody to reach out to you on that. The meat and potatoes where you can get the most in-depth help is through our online classes. They're typically multiple weeks, anywhere from 5 to 8 weeks, depending on the facilitator. But we go through every aspect of an effective job search, starting with attitude and getting in the right frame of mind and how to present yourself as positively as possible each day. But also going through every other aspect. We talk a lot about networking and targeting companies and how to pursue those things effectively, resumes and interviewing and negotiating offers and selecting the right one, and so much more. And as important as and good as all the content is and giving you the tactics and strategies, I think equally important is that weekly light accountability, getting together with others in the same boat, encouraging each other, supporting each other, getting the moral support you need. And then throughout the 8 weeks, we also talk about what's God's perspective of your job search, your career, and the rest of your life. And so encourage you to take advantage of that. I'll be leading one actually here coming up February 10th is our next one scheduled. Look for the classes page on the website. You can sign up there and take advantage of it. I really encourage you to plug in. Even if you've been in a group before, you can sign up for another one. And as I say, you get most of the same content. Each of our facilitators covers things in a little different way and brings their own knowledge and experience to it. But I think the encouragement each week is so critically important. Go to LinkedIn and put in MN Crossroads Career Network in the search box, and you'll find two things. One is our company page, which I encourage you to follow, because the more followers we have, the more exposure we get, and people are able to find us, and we want people to be able to take advantage of the different things we offer. Not to get our numbers up, but we just want people that need the help to know that we're available and get the help that they want. But secondly, the other thing you'll find when you put it in the search box is our LinkedIn group. And I encourage you to sign up to join that group. There's a lot of great information that gets posted in there, including upcoming events, but a lot of other things. Recruiters post jobs in there. People share relevant information about job search. But I think we're approaching 3,000 people now in the group that have decided to stay in their group. They've been through Crossroads. They've decided to stay in the group after they've landed in a new role and just be available as a networking contact in the companies that they're in now. So you can find people in companies that you're pursuing and get some advice and insight from them, maybe a referral or two. And then after you land in a new job, it's a great way to give back and be available for others as well. So check out the group, take advantage of it, and then be of help to others, pay it forward after you land in your new role. This webinar and all of the others that we've had in the last 5 years are posted on our YouTube channels. So again, there, if you put MN Crossroads Career Network in the search box in YouTube, you'll find us. And I'll have this webinar posted before the end of the day today, but so you can review it and fast forward and rewind and skip through all the stuff I'm talking about and focus on Graham's content. But it's a great way to review all the information, but also get a ton of other topics that have been discussed over the last several years, and take advantage of as many of those as you can. One of our other leaders, he always jokes about curling up on a Friday afternoon on the couch with popcorn and your significant other and watch job search videos. Maybe you can find something more entertaining, but it's a great resource. I just want to acknowledge we have actually over 40 people that volunteer for Crossroads in one way or another, and it enables us to do all these different things and offer help. Nobody's getting a paycheck. Everybody does it because they want to share their expertise and willingness to be a resource and help to others. And I'm grateful for every one of them because it enables us to offer a pretty robust offerings for people. So just take advantage of all you can, and people are more than willing to help. If you're not plugged into a home church, certainly encourage you to visit Grace Church in Eden Prairie or Woodbury Lutheran Church. Our websites are there. We do stream services online, but we certainly want you to be able to take advantage of plugging in any way you can. I think that sense of community in a church, show up in person as much as you can, and get the encouragement and community that you can build there, as well as great teaching and support in so many other ways. Grace Church is a non-denominational church. Woodbury Lutheran Church, obviously Lutheran, and take advantage of those. Our next seminar is coming up on Thursday morning, February 5th, in person only at Grace Church in Eden Prairie. We've got Julie Thiel talking about resilient job searching, emotional skills for the long game. I think many people underestimate the emotional journey you go through in this process, and the ups and downs, and the discouragement at times, and encouragement, and just that roller coaster. And so she'll talk about how to manage that well as some very practical tips to in your job search in other ways as well. So be sure to join us if you can, and look forward to seeing you there. I hope this morning was worthwhile for you and encouraging, and gave you some great tidbits that you can put into practice right away. And I look forward to seeing you again. Better yet, I hope we don't have to see you, that you landed a new job and you're moving on. But plug in and be of support to others as well then too. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time. And here we go.